Today I'm going to be showing you 25 settings that you need to change on the brand new iPhone 16e. And I'll be covering battery saving settings, feature settings, security settings, privacy settings, and app settings with plenty of tips and tricks along the way to help you get the most out of your iPhone. Alright, so we're going to start off strong with some battery saving settings. And first of all, we're going to be saving battery with notifications. So let me go ahead and show you which settings to change. So first of all, we are going to tap into settings and then scroll down to where we find notifications. And then first of all here, we have the ability to show or hide previews whether the phone is unlocked or not. And this is something that I highly recommend you change. So first of all, if we tap onto show previews, you want to make sure that this is set to either never or to when unlocked, as you don't want the contents of, say, a message to be shown on your screen while your phone is locked. So making sure that it only reveals that when the phone is unlocked is going to be a much more secure way to show your notifications. So if we go ahead and go back here, we also have the ability to turn on or off whether you want notifications to show when you are screen sharing, whether that be screen sharing with someone else or say to a TV or something. I definitely turn this off. I don't want my notifications to come in while my screen is being shared. So it's something I recommend you do too. Now here for the battery saving portion of this setting, we're going to scroll down to where we find basically a list of all of your applications, and you want to do an audit. You want to go through all of your applications and determine whether you want to allow or to disallow notifications coming in. Now by default, most applications are going to ask to send you notifications. However, most really don't need to, and this is important for two reasons. Of course, first of all, it's going to save you a lot of battery, right? Because every time a notification comes in, your screen turns on, your speaker activates, and your vibration mode goes off too. And this may not sound like a lot, but if you add this up over, say, dozens or even 100 notifications per day, this really adds up and makes a huge impact on your battery. So I really recommend you turn off most of these, but also not just for battery reasons, but also for mental health, right? You don't want to be bothered by your phone throughout the day. This way, when your phone goes off, you know it is something important, and not, say, Amazon reminding you that you have items left in your basket, for example, or Facebook reminding you of someone's birthday who you may not even know. So definitely something I suggest you turn off. Ones I keep on are going to be certain messaging apps and finance applications, right? Banking apps, things where when something does happen, you want to be notified. This way, when your phone goes off, you know it is something important, saving you stress and also saving you a lot of battery. And kind of similar to notifications, let's take a look at background app refresh. If we go back one page, tap onto general, and then in here, we're going to scroll to where we find background app refresh. And in here, as you can see, we have a list of all the applications that are wanting to refresh in the background. So by default, this will be on for pretty much all applications, but you can see I've turned this off for just about half of my apps. Now, here at the top, you do have the option to disable background app refresh for all applications. This is something you can do, as this will save a lot of battery, but it's something I don't recommend, as some applications do need to run in the background to function best. For example, things like your Google Maps or certain apps that you find yourself using often, say messaging apps or your music app, as well as you want these to be up to date. So those are exceptions where I do keep it on, but for other applications, you can see just about half here, I have turned off background app refresh, and this saves you a lot of battery, as these apps won't be running in the background while you're not even using them. And now let's take a look at mail, more specifically how often and how your iPhone checks for new emails. So to do this, we are going to scroll to the bottom of settings, tap onto apps, and then we're going to scroll down to where we find the letter M. There it is for mail. Tap into that, then tap onto mail accounts, then tap onto fetch new data. And then here, if we scroll to the bottom of this page, we can determine how often your iPhone will fetch, or in other words, check for new mails. Now, by default, this will probably be set to around every 15 minutes or so. This means your phone will be frequently checking for new emails. And especially if you have multiple mail accounts set up on your phone like I do, this will add up and take up quite a lot of battery throughout the day. You'd really be surprised. So I suggest you really lower the frequency of how often your phone checks for mail. So personally, I like to set this to hourly. This means that my inbox will be somewhat up to date, but not so often that is draining my phone's battery in the background. Of course, if you want to take this one level further, you can set this to manual. This means that your phone will never check for new emails unless you go into the mail app and then refresh your inbox by swiping down. This, of course, will save you most battery, but I think hourly here is going to be the happy medium and the sweet spot for most. These next couple of settings are not only great for battery life, but also for preserving your iPhone 16e's beautiful OLED display. And the first here has to do with your auto lock setting. So let's go ahead and jump into settings, and then we're going to tap onto display and brightness, and then you want to scroll down to where we find auto lock. And there's one setting in here that you want to absolutely avoid, and that is never. You never want your phone to be set to never. I know, double negative, but avoid the never setting because what that would mean is that your phone basically never locks. So say you put it in your bag, in your pocket, whatever, and you forget that it is still unlocked, your screen will always be on. And if your phone is going to be on for an extended period of time on a static image, you have the risk of burn-in, and this can occur on OLED displays, including the one on the iPhone 16e, where you can have a permanent imprint on the icons or the text or whatever is on your screen in your OLED display, and there's no fix to this. So to avoid this from happening, or to really limit this from happening rather, you want to set a shorter auto lock time. So personally, I think 3 minutes is a good sweet spot. You don't want your phone to lock too quickly. And this, of course, will also save you quite a lot of battery, as your phone screen won't be on as often when it doesn't need to be on. And kind of similar to this, let's talk about auto brightness. Now, this is on by default, but in case you may have accidentally turned this off, what you want to do is go into accessibility on the main page of settings, and then we're going to tap onto display and text size. And then here, if we scroll down, there it is. On the bottom, we have auto brightness, and you want to make sure that this is turned on. I find the iPhone does a great job at automatically turning up the brightness when you're out in the sun, and then lowering it nice and dim when you are, say, using your phone at night while you should be sleeping. So I've actually turned it off here because I'm filming a video, of course, but normally I always keep this on. And this too is going to go away to save your battery, of course, because your screen won't be running at max brightness. And it's also going to help protect your OLED display from burn-in, as running at high brightness enables that risk to, rather increases the risk for burn-in as well over time. So keeping your brightness on auto is very important. Next, let's talk about Raise to Wake. Now, this is a feature that you can basically access here. So we go into settings, tap onto display and brightness, and then we're going to scroll down to where we find Raise to Wake. Now, this is something you can turn off in case you really want to save battery, as it does save some battery. But of course, it's all about finding that balance, right? Some features you may enjoy and are worth sacrificing a bit of battery for the benefit that you get from that feature. So Raise to Wake is something I personally like. For example, let me show you what this does. If I go in and put my phone on the table, pick it up here without touching the screen, it will automatically wake up the screen, making it quicker for me to access my phone, as otherwise I'd have to first tap it or press the side button. So I like to have Raise to Wake on, but again, if you want to go the extra mile and save that battery, you can choose to turn it off. But a setting I recommend for all people, and that has to do with Apple Intelligence and Siri. Now, of course, the iPhone 16e is capable of Apple Intelligence. So as you can see, we have this new really sleek Siri interface here. So that is really cool to see. However, how you activate Siri really matters, especially when it comes to your battery. So let me go in and show you what I mean. So if we go into settings, scroll down to where we find Apple Intelligence and Siri. We're going to tap on that. First of all, you want to make sure that Apple Intelligence here is enabled, as that's also going to require, or rather enable, Siri to speak to ChatGPT. So if, say, you ask it a question and Siri doesn't know the answer, you can also have it ask ChatGPT, where it will probably find you a better answer. Now, more importantly, though, is how you activate Siri. So what we're going to do is scroll down here to where we find Talk and Type to Siri. And what you want to do is here at the top, you want to make sure it is not set to either of the activation phrases, whether that be hey or just the word Siri. I don't want to activate your smart assistants, but you want to make sure that this is set to off, as this means that your phone won't be constantly listening for these activation phrases and running the mics consistently. And this, of course, will take up a lot of battery over time. Not to mention, it can also cause your phone to be accidentally triggered. So if, say, you're in a meeting and you say a certain phrase that may sound like the word Siri, it can actually come up and accidentally trigger. So making sure that it is set to off is definitely best, also for that, but mainly for your battery. And instead, to activate Siri, you want to just press and hold on the side button like so, making it very easy to access by making sure that this option here, press the side button for Siri, is on. And lastly, in this battery life saving section of the video, let's take a look at battery health and preserving your battery health. So to do this, we're going to go into settings, tap onto battery, and then in here, we're going to tap onto battery health. Now here, first of all, you want to make sure that your battery health is set to normal and that your maximum capacity is set to 100 if your phone is new, of course, as this here is going to determine your battery health. No, in other words, tell you what your maximum charge capacity is for your battery. This will go down over time. And then here we also have your cycle count. This will determine how often your battery has been charged and fully depleted. So if, say, you are ever buying a 16E used, you want to make sure you check these statistics to know the health of the phone you are getting. But if we go back one page here, we can go ahead and tap onto charging, and here is a really important setting that goes a long way to preserving your battery health and making sure it lasts for as long as possible. So first of all, here we have the option to set a charge limit. So this, for example, is going to set a cap to how full you can charge your phone. Now, why do you want this? Well, lithium-ion batteries, such as the ones that are in the iPhone, work best when they're charged up to around 80 or 90%, not all the way up to 100. So this here is going to decrease the wear on your battery if you set that limit to only let it charge to, say, 85%, leaving that remaining 15%. That's going to help preserve and lengthen your battery health. Now, of course, the downside with this is you do sacrifice some of your battery capacity. So if you do find yourself, say, running low on battery frequently, the second option I think will be better, and that is to turn on your optimized battery charging. So first of all, here you can see that we can only have one of these on at a time. So in this case, the charge limit has to be set to 100, and then we can turn on optimized battery charging. And basically what that's going to do, it's going to learn your charging habits. So let's say you charge your phone every night roughly at the same time. It's going to first charge from 0 to 80%, then wait with the remaining 20% till closer to when you typically wake up and unplug your phone. This here goes a long way to preserving battery health because it will stagger the charge, charging your phone more slowly, producing less heat, and again, making your battery last longer. And now I want to pivot over to some really useful app and feature settings, which are going to unlock new features here on your iPhone 16e. So first of all, let's take a look at changing the app text size. So really cool feature now in iOS 18, but we do have to add a new toggle over to Control Center. So if we access the Control Center here on the top right, you want to look for this icon here. You got these two little A's here, but let's say you don't have it. Let me go in and show you how to add that in case you don't have it here. We're going to go in and remove it real quick. There we go. So once you're at Control Center, you want to simply tap on the plus icon, then tap onto Add a Control, and then here it is, text size. You may also see it in the slider. You want to tap onto that, and here, by the way, we can also quickly resize the icon if we like. So let's just make it nice and small like so. So now let's go ahead and open an application. Let's say Notes here. The text is quite small, so what I can do is swipe down from my Control Center, tap on the icon here, and let's go ahead and increase the text size to, say, 130. And as you can see here, the text is now going to be a lot bigger, making it easy to read. Now, you will also notice in this application or in this control here, you do have the option to also have it set to all applications, or whether you want it to only affect the Notes app. So we can go ahead and bring this down here back to 100. That's going to be the default. And as you can see here, give it a second. There we go. The text has now been returned back to normal. So this is a super useful way to quickly change the text size in any application or system wide. This next one is really for the pros, and that is to set a custom vibration pattern, allowing you to identify the source, or rather the type of notification that comes in without even taking your phone out of your pocket. So super useful. And to do this, we're going to go into settings and then scroll down to where we find sound and haptics. And then in here, we can go ahead and choose where we want to apply this to. So let's say a text tone here. We, of course, have your default sound and haptics. But if we tap on haptics here, we can also choose to create a new vibration. And basically, with every tap, your phone is going to vibrate. Now, you're probably not going to hear this, but if I tap it longer, it's going to vibrate longer. And I can tap it shorter for like a brief burst. So let's say for a message, I want it to be like short, short, long. There we go. And this way, when I get a vibration in that pattern in my pocket, I'll immediately know that that is going to be a text. I'm going to save that as a custom vibration, and you can set them for different types of notifications that come into your phone. Super useful and saving you time as well. Actually, while we're here in the sound and haptics menu, you'll probably know that the iPhone 16e here has a new action button, which will allow you to customize and set any function to that action button, which is super useful. But of course, this is previously where the silent toggle was. So now if you set your phone onto silent mode, you have to swipe to the Control Center and then tap here on the ringer toggle, and your phone will now be on silent. And as you can see, we do have an indicator here in the top left of your screen. Now, if you're like me, I pretty much have my phone on silent always, so I don't really need this icon here on the top taking up space in the menu bar. So what you can actually do is in settings here, we can turn off show in menu bar. Now, as you can see, my phone is still on silent, but we don't get that toggle there, giving a more clean look overall. And lastly, in this menu, I also want to show you a really useful setting. If we go back into the sound and haptics menu here, what we can do is scroll down to where we find keyboard feedback. And here we can turn on either the keyboard sound, if we like that, you know, that clicky sound whenever you press the keys, something that is on by default, but I personally turn it off. I don't need others to hear when I'm typing. But one that I do like and always turn on is the haptic. This means that with every key that you press, you feel a very subtle, small vibration, which is something that I personally kind of like. I got really used to on my iPhone, and I think it kind of reminds me of the older BlackBerry days when we had physical keys to click with every press. So I kind of like to have the haptic on to get some feedback with every key that I press. All right, this next one is super useful. If you often find yourself using two-factor authentication, which I think most of us do, you get a text message sent to your phone with a code, and they really pile up in your messaging apps, and you always have to mark them as read, and it's kind of annoying because you've already used them, but then it's still an unread message in your messaging app. Well, there is now a setting that allows you to automatically delete the two-factor authentication codes once they have been used. So to enable this, we're going to jump into settings, and then we're going to scroll into general. And then here we will find autofill and passwords right there. And then here we have delete after use. You want to make sure that this here is turned on, and this is going to automatically delete those verification text messages after they have been used, which is super useful because then you don't have to mark them as read in your inbox, and it just cleans up your messages list like so. And now let me show you a couple of really neat camera settings for the iPhone 16e, because the camera on the iPhone 16e is actually a 48 megapixel camera. However, by default, it won't shoot in 48 megapixel, and it will instead shoot in 24 megapixels to help save storage. However, when you do want to use the full capabilities of your camera and get the best quality images, you do want to unlock the 48 megapixel mode, but there is a setting that you have to turn on. So to do this, we're going to jump into settings here. And then on the main page, we're going to scroll to where we find camera. And then in here, we're going to tap onto formats. And then here, you want to turn on resolution control. This will be off by default. You want to make sure that this is turned on. And let me show you here. If we go into the camera app, you'll see we have a new icon here on the top right. This is the HEIF Max, and you want to turn that on. And now if I go ahead and take a picture here, let's say of the 16e box that I've got here right next to me. If I go ahead and take a look at this picture, scroll up, you'll see that that is now a 48 megapixel photo, and we're now taking full advantage of the resolution here of your iPhone 16e. Now, of course, there are pros and cons to this. The larger 48 megapixel photos will take up more storage compared to the smaller 24 megapixels. Therefore, it's something that I recommend you use only for specific occasions. Again, if you're taking an important picture, but for less important photos, it's good to just downgrade to the 24 megapixels to save some storage. But it's important to know how to access and change this when you want. Now, another couple of camera settings here while we're in the camera application. If we go back one page, we can tap onto record video. And as you can see in here, we can change the video resolution, something that, of course, is quite important. But here we also have the ability to turn on or off HDR video. Now, HDR video, if you don't know, is that super bright video that you may see if you're scrolling on Instagram and suddenly your screen gets really bright. Well, that is HDR video. It has its benefits, but in my opinion, I don't really like using HDR video, seeing it or shooting in it, so I turn this off and instead just shoot in standard dynamic range, or SDR. Now, a really neat feature, specifically here with iOS 18, is we now have the ability to listen to music while we're recording video. So to do this, we are going to scroll up here and tap onto record sound. And then in here, we can allow audio playback. Now, previously, if you start recording a video and you're, say, listening to music on your AirPods, your music will automatically stop, where now you can actually continue listening to your music. So definitely like to have that setting turned on. And two other settings here that I suggest you turn on are going to be the grid as well as the level. As if we go back into the camera app here, it's going to help you align your shots better and make sure your camera is straight. Now I want to show you a useful setting within the Mail app, and that is adding the ability to basically unsend an email after you have already sent it. So to do this, we are going to jump into settings, and then over on the main page, scroll all the way down to where we find apps. And then we're going to scroll down to the letter M along the side here. There it is. We're going to tap onto Mail, and then here all the way at the bottom we have the undo send delay, and you want to basically set this to anywhere from 10 seconds to 30 seconds. I like 30 seconds. This way, if I send an email and I forget to CC someone, or I forget an attachment or whatever, I can quickly pull that email back and then add it and then resend it. So super useful feature that I use more often than I'd like to admit. Now, this next one is not really a setting, but rather a very useful feature that is so small you can almost consider it a setting, and that I do want to share with you, and that is how to access the one-handed keyboard here in the Messages app. So if I go ahead and tap on the globe or the emoji icon, if you don't have multiple languages set up, you'll see that we have two little icons here, and that will allow you to shift the keyboard either to the left or to the right of your screen to kind of make it more easy to access the other side. So I'm left-handed, so let's say I've got my phone in my hand here, I can just more easily reach with my thumb the other side of the keyboard, and the same vice versa if I shift it over to the right as well, making it easier to use your phone and type with one hand. And of course, to re-expand the keyboard, simply tap on the arrow here. Now, you may see that one thing is actually missing from my messaging app, and that is the predictive text menu that we often see. So I've actually turned this off, and this is something I recommend you probably turn off too, because I don't find it to be that useful. And let me show you how to do this. So to do this, we're going to go into settings, then tap onto general, and then we're going to tap onto keyboards. And then here we have the third option, predictive text. So let me show you what this is like on. You can see here, we have this layer here of text. It takes up quite a lot of your conversation space as well. And personally, I don't really use predictive text. I find it to be either too slow or not accurate enough. So if I go ahead and turn it off, as you can see, we now have cleared that and gained more space for the context of our messages, which I think is more important. So something I definitely recommend you turn off. Now, the next thing that I recommend you customize is your iMessage app. So if we tap on this little plus icon here, you see we have a whole bunch of different apps and features that are within iMessage. Some here are really useful, like for example, Send Later, that allows you to schedule a message now, which is not done before. But previously, this used to be really down at the bottom of the list, but I use it often, so I like to bring it up. So as you can see, what you can do is simply tap and drag these and to rearrange them and have your most important or more accessed applications here along the top, making it easier to find them and reach for them in the future. All right, so if we look at this messages thread, you'll see here I have a couple of photos sent, and they are in beautiful quality. In fact, they are going to be in the original quality. They are not compressed, unlike say on WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or many other messaging platforms which do compress the photos. iMessage doesn't do so, given you have this setting turned off. And let me show you what setting I'm talking about. So to make sure you always send the highest quality photos and videos to your loved ones, you want to go into settings, and then we're going to go all the way to the bottom here of the main page. Tap on apps, and then scroll to where we find M for messages. There it is. Scroll all the way to the bottom, and here it is, low quality image mode. You want to make sure that that is turned off, as this means it will not compress your photos and videos and instead send the full resolution photos and videos to your loved ones and friends. And this brings us to the home screen. Let me show you a couple of settings here that I really find important. So if we go into settings and we're going to scroll down to where we find home screen and app library. First of all, you can go ahead and choose whether you want newly downloaded apps to show on the home screen or only in the app library. For those that don't know, the app library, if you scroll all the way to the end of your app pages here, is going to be this right here. This will show you all of your applications, so even ones that you may not have on your home screen. Something you can turn on. Personally though, I prefer to have all my apps visible on the lock screen. And then secondly, we have the option to turn on or off search on the home screen. So as you can see, if I go home here, we have this little search bar, which I can go ahead and tap to quickly search for anything on my phone, where if I turn that off, we instead get these three little dots, and this here lets you quickly jump through between the different applications here, or rather pages of apps on your phone. However, even if you turn on the search, you'll see that we don't lose that functionality. I can still quickly cycle through my apps while also tapping it to pull up search and find something on my phone. So useful setting that I suggest you turn on. Now, let's take a look at the App Store, more specifically, some settings that I really recommend you change to make your experience using the App Store definitely a lot better. So to do this, we're going to scroll down to where we find apps, then tap onto App Store. And then here, first of all, you want to turn off automatic app downloads. Now, let's say you have another iOS device, like say an iPad, and you download an app on your iPad. This means if you have it turned on, it will also automatically download that same application on your iPhone. Now, you may want this, but personally, I don't really use this, as I download apps on my iPhone that are specific to my iPhone and apps on my iPad that are specific to my iPad, and I don't really want them to mix and also for storage to be wasted. So I suggest you turn this off. Now, what I suggest you turn on would be automatic app updates, as you want to make sure you you have the latest app features as well as any bug fixes or security patches. So this is something I suggest you turn on. It generally does the updates overnight, so it's it doesn't really disrupt in any way, shape, or form. And the same goes for in-app content. So let's say you have a podcast app and you want to download the latest episodes of a show, it will automatically download those in the background. And beneath that here, we have the option to turn on or off automatic downloads over mobile data. This also includes, by the way, your app updates and in-app content. So if you want to save some data on your plan, I suggest you turn this off and instead do it over Wi-Fi, which may be quicker as well. And then on the bottom here, we also have in-app ratings and reviews. You've probably seen this before, where once you download an application, it will ask you to review that application. I don't mind reviewing applications, but I prefer to do so when I want to. I don't really like to be essentially told to do so. So I like to turn this off, and this way an application can't ask you to rate it. But I will ask you to rate this video. If you are enjoying this video, please do leave a like and also subscribe to see more content like this. If this video has been helpful to you, thank you so much for your support. And this brings me to probably the most important section of this video, and that is going to be the essential security and privacy settings section of this video to make your iPhone more secure and more private. Now, this is more important today than ever, as we have so much sensitive information and personal information on these devices. You want to make sure it is protected. So first, let's go ahead and jump into settings, and then we are going to tap onto Face ID and passcode. Then just quickly type in your passcode. And here, first of all, we can choose what we want Face ID to do. Now, Face ID, I find that to be very secure, so I don't mind using Face ID to unlock my phone, also to authenticate payments. So I suggest you turn all of these on. Now here, we do also have the option to set up an alternative appearance for Face ID. Now, men, if say you have a beard, you may find that Face ID can sometimes struggle if you suddenly shave your beard, or if you have a beard, it may sometimes mess it up. So having multiple appearances can be really useful there. And I think for ladies, if you have different hairstyles, for example, it can be useful too to make Face ID more accurate and recognize you more quickly. Now, if we go and scroll down, we have attention. So this here is going to determine whether not just it requires you to be in front of your phone to unlock for Face ID, but also that you need to look at your phone, like make eye contact with your phone in order for it to unlock. So I see this as just one additional step of security, and I always turn this on, as it just makes Face ID even more secure to make sure that when your phone unlocks, it is deliberate. And then beneath that, we have a new feature that's called Stolen Device Protection. Now, Stolen Device Protection basically enables a security delay before certain settings or account details within your Apple ID can be changed. For example, your iPhone passcode, or say your Apple ID password, or to gain access to other stored passwords on your phone. Now, if we go ahead and tap into this here, we can go ahead and set this to only activate on familiar locations, like for example, your home or office, say, places that your phone is frequently at, or only at non-familiar locations, let's say when you're traveling abroad or something like that. So I'm not going to turn this on because it takes a little while to activate, but normally speaking, I always have this on, and this here is really useful, again, to add a delay to when certain settings are changed. So if, say, your phone is ever lost or stolen, you can quickly go home, go to iCloud, and you want to remote wipe it if you can, remote lock or whatever, then you can do that before any of those settings are changed on your phone. So stolen device protection, I definitely recommend you turn on. And then here we also have the ability to set a password to unlock your phone. As by default, of course, we have a 6-digit PIN number, basically a number, but you can also change it to be a word. So if we go and tap onto passcode, you want to type in your current passcode. And then next here, it's going to allow you to type in a new passcode. But if we tap onto passcode options, you'll see that we not only have a 6-digit number, which is the standard, we also have a 4-digit number. However, we also have a custom alphanumeric code, and that basically means a word. So you can type in a full sentence, you can type in name, a street name, a song lyric, whatever you could think of, but it basically adds a big step of security to your phone, as of course guessing a word or series of words or letters is going to be a lot harder than a number. So if you want to pass a word for your passcode, you can do that here as well. Now, I want to talk about AirDrop. AirDrop is super useful, but it can be very easy to activate these days, especially with this bringing devices together feature. So that's something I definitely suggest you turn off. So to do this, we're going to go into Settings, and then here into General, we're going to tap onto where we find AirDrop. There it is. And you want to turn off bringing devices together. This way, if say you have another iPhone and you bring it close to the phone, it won't automatically enable your AirDrop, making it much easier to, like, a little bit too easy, I think, to connect to another person's phone where it may not be intentional. So that's something I definitely suggest you turn off. And secondly here, when it comes to receiving, thankfully now everyone is no longer set as a permanent option. You can have this, but it will only be activated for 10 minutes. This means that only contacts are going to be able to connect to your phone or basically find your phone to send you files, or you can just turn it off altogether. But again, I suggest you turn off bringing devices together. And next here, let's go ahead and take a look at more secure Wi-Fi. So if we scroll to the top of your settings page, we'll tap onto Wi-Fi here, and then we're going to scroll down here to where we find ask to join networks. And this is something that I personally turn off. I don't like to always be asked to join a network, especially because a lot of public networks cannot always be trusted, especially those free ones. So you may be at a cafe and you may see a Starbucks Wi-Fi. It may be Starbucks Wi-Fi, but it could also be someone with a fake who's created a fake network named Starbucks to try access data or payment information or passwords or whatever of your phone. So it's best to just be on your own network, in other words, your own data, or of course your trusted Wi-Fi at home or in the office. So I just turn off ask to join networks, as I really don't need to be reminded to do so. Okay, so now that we've made the phone more secure, let's make your iPhone more private. So to do this, we are going to jump into a few settings that I want to show you here. So first of all, if we scroll down to where we find privacy and security over in the main page here, we can go ahead and turn off tracking. Now, tracking here, you may have seen this if you use an application from the App Store. It may ask you permission to track it, basically track information across that, but also other applications and what you do on your phone. I don't think any application needs this information. So turning off this setting here is going to also disable the app to even ask you to track in the first place. So really useful. Definitely just should turn this off. And this here will turn it off for all applications. And then secondly here, we have a whole range of basically parts of your phone. So for example, you have your camera, you have your microphone, things like your photos as well, and you want to go through ideally all of these and determine which applications you want to have access to which data. So let me give you an example. Let's take a look here at photos. You'll see here I have all of these applications, 6 here, that request access to my photo library, but you can see that most of them have limited access to my photos, not access to all of them. So if I take YouTube here, for example, you'll see that I've only given it access to 14 items as opposed to the 4,000, nearly 5,000 media files that are in my phone, and go and tap onto limited access. And I can also edit the selection. So I can go and add a new one. Let's say I want a picture of this plant. I can go in and add that. And there you go. Now 15 photos will be accessible by YouTube. And the same here goes for WhatsApp. The same goes for eBay, Instagram, etc. Generally speaking, I like to keep it all to limited access to sort of protect your privacy, as I think most applications really don't need access to all of your photos. So there's one example. And the same thing, for example, can be said for your microphone. Let's do that here as well. You can turn these on or off. So certain apps don't need to. For example, Google Maps, I don't see why it would need to. Even Shazam, well, Shazam is quite useful, for example. So some apps do genuinely need access to these components, but others don't. And chances are, out of the box, most will ask for pretty much every permission they can. And it's so easy to just tap allow, allow, allow. But every once in a while, it's good to go back and see, what are applications actually accessing. And the same here even goes for contacts. This one's quite interesting, as not only can you allow full access, you can also now allow limited access for contacts. That's new with iOS 18 as well. So you may have different groups of contacts, your work contacts, your personal contacts, and you can kind of separate the two if you so choose. Same thing goes for calendar. So yeah, I'm not going to show you every one of these, but it really does apply to all of them. Microphone, that's another useful one. No, I already showed you that. Bluetooth, that's also a big one. So it gives you all these options, and I really recommend you go through them to sort of audit and know what apps have access to what. Oh yeah, and one more that I do want to show you in this list is location services. This one here in particular is very important, as when you're scrolling through all the applications that at some point want access to your location, you can see there's many of them. You want to make sure that the word always is not shown in this list. So if I go ahead and show you Instagram here, you have the option to set it to always, and this means that Instagram will always be able to track your location. There's no need for that. I say you may want to tag a location if I'm making a post or a story, but then it should be only while I'm using the app, or simply ask me every time it wants to prompt my location, or you can of course always set it to never as well, but make sure that you never see the word always in this list, as that really is overkill. And secondly, you also have the option to allow or disallow precise location. So Instagram here, great example. Let's say I'm on holiday somewhere. I want to tag the town or city that I'm in. I don't need it to know the exact street of my hotel, for example. So I turn off precise location, and this way it won't know exactly where I'm at. It'll just know roughly where I'm at to tag the post. So this here I think is a great privacy feature that you can turn on for various applications. Now, of course, other applications like your Maps apps, right? These things, they do need access to your location to work, so those you want to keep on, but you can see many here don't need to. So definitely go through this list as well. And then lastly, when it comes to privacy and security, I want to show you how to enter lockdown mode on your phone. You want to simply press and hold the volume up button and the side button. This is going to give you the power off menu. Tap onto cancel. As you can see, the phone will automatically lock and also disable Face ID, meaning it's going to require you to enter in your passcode to now unlock your phone. And well, there it is. Those are the 25 settings that you need to change on your iPhone 16e. I hope you've enjoyed this video. This will give you more battery life, unlock new features in applications, and of course, make your iPhone more secure and private. So if you have enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching and take care.